Good evening. This is Mike Ungerman, and I'm the SIG leader of the Central Florida Computer Society's Linux Special Interest Group. It's the October 13th, 2021 meeting. And we have a few folks here with us tonight. Some will probably join us as we go on, and we'll add them as we go. Let's click here, and then here is the agenda for tonight's meeting. And we'll talk a little bit about the computer we've been using. Hang on a minute while I acknowledge the screen on the other computer. I have three computers in the group tonight. The one that I'm presenting and talking to you on now is a Windows 10 computer, in which I'll do some of the presentation. Well, I'll do all of the presentation itself, and then I will do some of the demos on it. And then I will switch over to the Central Florida Computer Society's Lenovo computer, which is running Linux Mint. And when we get into some of the file sharing discussions, I've also brought another Linux computer, which is a desktop. It's a Hewlett-Packard desktop. It is also running Linux Mint. And we'll see what we can share between two Linux computers, and we will see what we can share between a Linux and a Windows computer, and vice versa. And I call it part one because in my presentation on this, I will express my exasperation at not being able to get a local area network set up the way I would like it to, and do what local networks are designed to do. And that is share files between them easily. We'll talk about that. During our round robin discussions, I'll ask each of you to tell us what you're doing with Linux. Also an opportunity to ask generalized questions. I will do the presentation before we get to that on installing and running the ungoogled form of Chromium. I'll talk a little bit about that when we get to it, and we'll discuss some resources and recommendations for topics. So, the Central Florida Computer Society concurred in my proposal to purchase a Lenovo desktop computer, and we set it up with Linux Mint back in May. The installation itself is documented on a video on YouTube in the CFCS videos playlist. And usually when I send out the video of this meeting, it gets up on the playlist usually the next day within 24 hours. And when you're on that playlist watching this video, you can also see the other videos that are there, including that first setup video. Over the next 3 months and next 3 sessions of the Linux SIG, we reviewed what came with the initial distro. We talked about programs that we could add. We talked about utilities. We talked about maintaining, both adding, installing, and deleting and removing programs in Linux Mint. We talked about some utilities such as BleachBit, which is a lot like CCleaner, but got a lot more capability. We generally took an initial look at Linux Mint, and then we started expanding on it. Last month, as a test, I installed Zorin Core 16, or Zorin 16 Core, I guess it was, which is a Linux distro in the Ubuntu family. And its claim to fame was that it was very Windows-like. Its desktop could be set up to look like Windows 7, Windows 10, even Windows 11. And it had the capability of downloading and installing modules that worked with the operating system, with Wine, to run Windows programs. You could literally just double click on a Windows installation program and it was supposed to run. My intent was to check it out and see if it would run Quicken, because that's one of my limiting factors of leaving Windows. And although the the Quicken installation program would run to a point. It never finished the install, and I was never able to get it to run. Having tested that out and trying to decide what I was going to do myself for my ultimate Linux distribution on this computer that I'm presenting from today, which is a Windows 10 computer, I just decided to go back to Linux Mint to standardize what we're doing so that we have a reference to go from, especially if people are just joining us. However, my final point on this slide is, would this group be interested if each month I dual installed a different distro so that we would cover our general discussions from the Linux Mint side, and then I would reboot the computer and bring it into the so-called distro of the month, something that attracted my attention. And I would ask for comments at this time if you guys think that's a good idea or a bad idea, what you think about that. Anybody?
I don't think that's a bad idea. It has to be every month, though. Maybe every other month or something like that.
Okay.
It's be good to be exposed to others. I'm kind of new to Linux, so I played around with a couple of them myself, throwing them into VirtualBox. So it'd be interesting to see other versions.
Okay. Anybody other comments? All right. Well, there is a guy.
Sorry, Mike.
That's all
Sorry,
right.
Mike. I had something I wanted to throw in there too. I
Sure.
can't find, first of all, I can't find how to display myself. But anyway, I agree with that. I think every month puts an awful lot on you, but having a different distro every now and again would be kind of nice to see. I've been playing with a lot of them as well, trying to figure out where I want to go, if I want to do it at all. And currently I have Zorin installed on a desktop, and I've been playing around quite a bit with that. So
Okay.
there you go.
All right.
And
Well-
maybe you tell us ahead of time, give us a couple weeks notice as to what you're going to be installing, and if we have the ability, we can install it as well, and we can talk about our experiences.
Okay. Good.
And from the beginner here, I'd like you to install it in front of us, not have it already pre-installed and then you go play. I want you going through the steps in front of us. Now, maybe you don't have to do that every time. And I don't know that I want to see a new distribution every single time. But I do think I want, again, to review the installing so that it becomes second nature. And it's not second nature yet. Okay.
Well, it was interesting that when I installed Zorin, that Zorin actually had some nice user features for automatically partitioning the hard drive. You didn't have to go through yourself and choose, where you wanted root, where you wanted home, where you wanted cache, and how much space and the rest of that. When you chose the automatic distribution and you said, let Zorin choose it for you, it actually created that. And I found that was much nicer for me than it was, say, with Linux Mint, that if you choose to just automatically install Linux Mint, it dumps it all pretty much in the same partition.
But you didn't share that. That it did
Yes, I did. Yes, I
else.
did. Not in real time. I showed pictures of it.
All right. Well, anyway,
Okay.
that's just on occasion, it would be nice to see it from the beginning to the install to
Okay.
whatever.
Well,
Okay.
I have the capability of doing that. I just set my my phone in a gyro stabilized mount on a tripod in front of the notebook, and then it does it. Okay. Well, we'll do that. Yeah, it won't be every month, but it'll be something that we can do. One month we may install, take a quick look around. I'll play with it for the second month, get it set up the way I would like to see it set up, and then talk a little bit about what I've done and what it's doing. And maybe because I'll have Mint on the other partition, I will compare it, to what's going on the other partition and what the differences are. All right. thank you for your input. Okay, first subject. Who here has not used Chrome as a browser one time or another? Anybody? Okay, so it's not foreign to you. And all of us pretty well know that Chrome is a Google product. I never realized when I first started using Chrome that it was a derivative of the Chromium open source project. And that in fact, Chromium was and still is available in Windows, Mac, Linux, etc., and can be installed as Chromium, not as Chrome, not as a Google product. However, some of the code that's in Chromium is conducive to connecting to Google, even though it doesn't have the modules that Chrome has itself. If you just install Chromium on Windows, Mac, or Linux, it still may have some capabilities of connecting to Google. And there's some people that just, when they want Chromium on their computer, they just want it to be an absolute plain vanilla browser with no connections whatsoever to Google. So I did find that there is a version called Ungoogled Chromium. So we will take a look at that tonight and see how that is installed. In Linux Mint, it can be installed from the software manager. Now, the version of software manager that I had on the Lenovo computer for CFCS started the installation and then said, oh, you don't have the full Flatpak installed. Now, Flatpak and FlatHub are a resource, a repository for programs, and a method of packing them up such that they come as a complete module to be installed. And I thought I would show you before I actually go to Chromium a little bit about Flatpak. Now I can click on this, or I think I can, let's see here, if I click here and hit escape, yep, and then minimize that. Okay, so here is, now the big thing, I'm going to stop screen sharing and start it again so I get audio. So hang on a moment. Stop share. Okay, now I want to share. Let's see if I have to see here. It's advanced sharing options. Say, no, it didn't say audio there. So I'm going to say share screen. And share sound. That's what I wanted. Okay, and I want screen 2 again. Right, so I'll show you a quick video on Flatpak.
Deploying apps to Linux can be difficult because there are so many different Linux distributions. It's hard when you can't reproduce the bugs reported by your users. But with Flatpak, you can. Flatpak uses container technology so that your app runs the same way on all Linux-based platforms. It makes it simple to deliver your apps, so you can spend your time on more important things. And it puts you in control of updates, so your users can always get the newest version. Check out FlatHub, where there are hundreds of apps already available. And Flatpak your app today.
Were you all able to hear that okay?
Yep.
Okay, and here is flathub.org, and it gives you an idea of the type of applications that are available. If you have the repository installed on your computer, then they should all be available from the software manager. So we're going to test that theory out by sharing the screen of the computer. So we'll stop that one. And let's see here. Now, I don't want to see this transcript that's on here, but I've got a feeling that if I do this, share screen, desktop, Sure, let's see what we've got. And, all right. We will get that little bar right up there near the top. Okay, so I will go back and let's see here. I need to actually start on my other computer. I need to start the presentation again just for reference. So I'll come back to it. Okay, so to know whether you've got Flatpak installed, you can go to the terminal and you can type in sudo apt install Flatpak. Now, if it's installed, you should just get a confirmation it's installed. If you don't have it fully installed, then it should install it, offer to install it. And it says it's already the newest version. They were automatically installed, telling me some things that aren't required, and I can do an auto remove to get rid of the things that aren't installed. For the moment, I'll just leave them there. So I should have Flatpak installed and not have any problems installing. Change my mouse over. I'm gonna try to do that. Let's try again here. There we go. So I'm going to go to the software manager. And I'm going to see if ungoogled Chromium comes up. And there it is. Says it's there. On Google Chromium is Google Chromium without or sans dependency on Google Web Services. It retains default Chromium experience as closely as possible. Unlike other Chromium forks that have their own visions of a web browser, ungoogled Chromium is essentially a drop-in replacement for Chromium. Ungoogled Chromium features tweaks to enhance privacy, control, and transparency. However, almost all of these features must be manually activated or enabled. So basically, it's a plain vanilla browser. So we'll tell it to go ahead and install it.
Mike, if we just went to the software manager, wouldn't it tell us it couldn't install on Google Chromium unless we installed Flatpak, and then it would do it? Or we have to do the other process?
It started doing it, and then it stopped saying that I didn't have the current version of Flatpak installed. Now, I didn't pre-do this on this particular computer because I wanted to have the experience. So right now it's saying that there's some additional things that it's going to be installing.
So wouldn't it do that with Flatpak there as well?
Yeah, I think so. But when I tried it on my Dell laptop, I actually had to install it, then do an apt update, and then an apt upgrade, and then reinstall. So, we'll see how this goes tonight, because it's actually saying it's going to install some additional software. So I'll just say continue. And we'll let it install. Let's see what else it's going to tell us down here while it's installing. So it's putting in almost a gigabyte, saying 2.7 gigabytes required for everything.
Mike, how much RAM does that computer have that you're running?
This one, 4 gigabytes.
And is that a Mint distro?
And it's Linux Mint Chromium. Cinnamon.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the one that we set up in May. And before the meeting yesterday, I did go through and do an update. I did notice, yeah, it looks like we're all, well, it's in the process of, no, it says 4 updates are available. So just in the time that I initially did the setup, there were some additional updates to install. What else can I say while it's doing this? Well, I think that's basically everything I wanted to do, but I did want you to see the install as well as just taking a look at it. What I do myself, it's interesting what I'm using this for in a couple of computers is I don't want to access Google services from Brave, which is my primary browser on all my computers. It's on my Windows 10 computer, it's on this computer, and it's on my Dell computer. And I just don't want to be tracked with Google tracking. So I actually use ungoogled Chromium to access Google services, which sounds like a contradiction. But with the ungoogled Chromium, I'll go to YouTube and I'll play YouTube videos. With the ungoogled Chromium, I'll go to Google Groups and make any changes that need to be made. And with the ungoogled Chromium, I'll go to my one remaining Gmail account that's also on my Android phone. So I'm plugging back in, but I'm also clearing of the history and the cache and everything else when I'm done. So there's no real link between what I've done in this browser and what I'm doing in my main browser. I have an upcoming presentation for CFCS that will talk about browsers and browser security. And one of the things that isn't widely known is it's called browser fingerprinting, wherein the first time you run a browser on your computer, it more or less can gather the information from the computer that it's on, and then can track you, knowing that you're, I think we heard today in today's presentation that somebody was using their phone. They were browsing on their phone. They came back home. They opened up their browser on their computer, started to do a search, and there was everything that they had searched for on their phone, on their computer. So the browser fingerprinting, and especially going through Google and then using it on their computer, they're all linked. So anyway, this is my attempt, or my use for ungoogled Chromium is actually to use it to connect to Google and then disconnect and clear it out between uses. Almost done. While I'm doing that, I'm going to change I have a keyboard, mouse, and video switch, so I can change my mouse between these two computers. I just want to get rid of something on the other one. Okay. I'm back. Almost. There is a screenshot of what it looks like, but we'll actually bring it up and you'll see what's actually there. Dead airspace. It could be the resources on the computer with screen sharing and Zoom is overtasking. This is a dual core Intel processor. And it's about a 5-year-old computer. Aha. There you go. See, this is exactly what I had previously. It's saying I need a later flat pack version. So what I had to do is exactly what I just did. I think though I can attempt to do the update. Let's check it. It may update it this way. Yep. Oh, now I'm going to get 14 packages. It's going to take forever. I wonder if I just try. That's the way I did it flat. Yep. Let me just see if it does it this way. And my fingers are off. Sorry. Yeah, it already says it's the newest version, so I'm going to have to do the update. And then we'll try it. If this is going to take the same amount of time, what I'll do is jump ahead to our discussion. And by that time, this may have completed. And then we'll come back to the demo of Chrome. But let's see if this does it. Yeah, I see it's got firmware to do and so on. All right, I'm going to let this do its update. I'm going to stop screen sharing over here. And I'm going to start screen sharing over here. Okay. So we will come back to this and we will jump ahead. And hang on a moment. My new slide. Thanks to Sean, who constructively said, Mike, you're talking too much. Not really, but we like to do a round robin, very much like we do on the TechSig, and talk a little bit about what we're doing, focused on Linux, around Linux, similar to Linux, just general stuff that kind of fits in with what we're doing tonight. So why don't I start with Sean, since this was his idea. And if you want to mute yourself, and I will stop sharing. Cheers.
So my latest thing is I have a Synology, which I think I may have talked about in this meeting before, but I just, as of, I think yesterday, decided to sit down and start creating some virtual machines. Synology has a product called Virtual Machine Manager, and it makes it really easy to host virtual machines on your Synology. And the first one I did was a Windows 10 virtual machine, which actually went very smoothly. I tried doing Linux Mint Cinnamon. First time I did it, it didn't work correctly. I trashed it and did it again, and it's working. Oh no, I'm sorry, I have not been able to get Linux Mint. I did, however, get Pop! OS virtual machine and Ubuntu desktop virtual machine going. And it's nice in that I can go into a web browser, go into my disk station manager for Synology, and go into the virtual machine, and I can just click on, as long as I can make the virtual machine run or turn it on, and then I just hit connect. It opens in a separate tab, and there's the virtual interface for the operating system, and it's like you're working with, it is. You're working with Linux. In my case, Ubuntu. I'm looking at now. It's very handy in that I no longer have to re-image a computer all the time. I can just create these images. So, and of course, if you don't have a Synology, using using something like VirtualBox is a great idea. And then you can try out all kinds of different versions of Linux and see how you like them. So that's the latest that I've been doing.
Now, how hard was it for you to actually create the virtual machine in the Synology? I mean, is it fairly straightforward, or did you have to follow a tutorial? Or
I did look at a tutorial on the web. I probably could have figured it out on my own, but you launch the Virtual Machine Manager, which is a program on the Synology disk station. You log into this interface that looks, well, in essence, it is like a desktop. You're familiar with that, Mike.
Mhm.
And you just you install the Virtual Machine Manager, you launch that, and then you download the image for the Linux version or the Windows version you want to install. Once you have the image in the Virtual Machine Manager, then you click on Virtual Machine and you just create a new one. And you fill out it asks you questions, and it wants to know where the image is. For instance, if it's Windows, I navigate to where on my Synology the Windows image is stored, and then it takes it from there. And it has to be an ISO. So, and it takes it from there. You tell it how much memory you want to use, how much RAM you want to use, how much of the virtual disk space you want to use. So you want to make it 25 gigs or 50 gigs. And then it just goes into the installer. And actually, it looks like when it actually starts to load, it looks like it starts asking the questions. The installer is the installer you'd see on a piece of hardware. It wants you to set up an English, what your language is. Wants you to set up the keyboard and that sort of thing. You just arrow through, just like you're sitting in front of a metal box computer. So pretty neat. I'm pretty excited about the ability to do this. Once in a while, I don't have any Windows computers, so once in a while I have a need to use Windows. So I'm gonna buy a Windows 10. I've already ordered it. A Windows 10 Pro license and an Office license. So I've got Microsoft Outlook and the full Office suite inside of Windows. So if I need to do something that only works in Windows, as we all know, there are situations when you have to use Windows because whatever the program doesn't work or whatever you want to do only works in Windows. So kind of like what you're doing, Mike, with Quicken, So yeah, pretty. The whole virtual machine thing is really an awesome aspect. So thank you. Anyway, that's it for me.
Okay. Bud, what have you been up to?
Not much. Just to follow a little bit with the Synology. Synology actually had a 1-hour seminar on their product for home users last week, and I did attend that. And I was absolutely amazed because my Synology is just used purely for backup, and I'm using a third-party backup program. Never explored any of the Synology applications, and they have a lot of stuff in there that could probably take years to explore, but I'm going to start exploring those in the future here. But other than that, I haven't done much with Linux at all. Played around with a couple of distros in VirtualBox, but I've been kind of waiting. I want to get the Windows 11 into the VirtualBox, a real version of it. I have the preview version, which does install with no problem, but the released version doesn't. So that's about all I've done.
Any idea why there's a difference between the preview version and the actual released version?
I think it's because they turned on all the TMP requirements and the CPU requirements and that kind of stuff. And in the preview version, they weren't activated, because the one I've got installed in the VirtualBox right now is the release version, same build number. So, but when I tried to put the released one in, it told me it wasn't compatible, even though the computer it's installed on, or the computer the VirtualBox is on, is Windows 11 compatible.
Hmm.
And when I first downloaded Windows 11, I clicked the wrong button and I did the upgrade assistant. And it did more than assist, it just upgraded it. So I know that the Windows 11 will install on the computer with the VirtualBox on it. I had Windows 11 on there, the live release version on it for maybe about 10 minutes. And I rolled it back because I don't think it's ready for prime time.
Okay.
So gonna wait it out a while. Having trouble with it evidently with Ryzen CPUs. They're like 10 or 12% slower than in Windows 11 they are in Windows 10. There's a bunch of little bugs that have been popping up all over the place. So it's a pre-release of a pre-release of a pre-release of a release product. As far as I'm concerned right now. And there's nothing in there to excite you anyways.
Okay. Tim, what's happening with the Chicago Computer Society's Linux group? You're unmuted, but I don't hear.
Hello.
Oh, there you go. Okay, we hear you.
Okay.
Yep.
I had a setting I wasn't sure about. I'm on the Linux Mint box right now as is instead of the Windows computer. Generally, I haven't done a great deal of late. In September, we had to scrub our meeting. We have a serious problem with an officer in the group. He's terminal. And right now, I have a boding feeling that I'm going to end up getting the website dumped in my lap to try and figure out how to be able to maintain and modify it. As is, we're lucky we have documentation on the Zoom, which is a lot easier to deal with. But right now, the guy that is terminal, he's in hospice care, and it really sounds like he's going down fast.
Sorry to hear.
Yeah. We're sorry too, Nat, that I kept trying to get documentation for a lot of this stuff and didn't have a lot of success. So we're in the corner right now, and I do have other people working on the problem, trying to come up with some answers. But Linux, right now, we're scheduled for the 4th Tuesday of this month. Then November and December, we will move to the 2nd Tuesday of the month. And that's partly due to the holidays. Most people are so tied up with the holidays that they're not going to attend many, if any, virtual meetings, let alone in person, like in a hybrid group.
Okay. Dave, you've just joined us. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing with Linux.
Well, hi. I've been playing around with Linux for I don't know, probably a year or so, and a little bit longer than that in the Raspberry Pi area. But I have, I don't know, 6, 8, maybe 10 VirtualBox images of Linux, Mint, not Ubuntu, but Zorin, and I've tried numerous others and deleted them and just didn't care for them. I basically am sticking with the Debian side of Linux. I like the way Debian sort of handles updates and so forth. So I'm kind of sticking with that side of things. Currently, I think I said that I have a desktop PC, which is old and has very little RAM and so forth, but I have Zorin installed, and I've been trying to convince myself that I like it well enough to move to Linux. I still have numerous programs that I run in Windows that I don't like the way they run in Linux. For instance, Audacity. I don't like the way it's running in Linux. It works, but I'm having issues with it. And I mentioned earlier that my big concern is getting everything that I do in Windows into a virtual box of some sort. Because I support people in the Windows arena, particularly my church, and I have to have Windows in order to do that. We have software running at church that only runs on Windows. So if I can get that to work in a virtual box, that would be awesome. But that basically, so far, I'm just playing. I have not made the conversion to Linux yet. I appreciate all the info and the input, and I like being here and watching and participating and learning. So thank you.
Okay. Jeff, you're up. I know that you're unmuted, but we don't hear you. Double check your microphone's on the right audio channel. Okay, I guess try again. No.
Audio
Oh,
set.
you got it. Got it. We got you now.
No, that was me.
Oh,
Jeff, go to the audio settings for the mic. Go to the audio settings and go to your microphone and check the down arrow for different hookups in your computer. I had to change mine.
yeah, like I have a microphone and it's my normal default, but today I'm using my earphones. And when Zoom initiated, it initiated with my microphone and I had to change it to my earphones.
Okay, how about now?
Yep.
That did it?
Up your volume.
Okay, how about now? Is that
A
better?
lot better.
Okay. Do it louder or is that good?
That's good.
Okay. All right, so you can hear me now? All right. Basically, I use the computer for distributed computing and I change things around occasionally. And because every time you make so many changes, Windows requires you to get a new license for it. We got tired of that. Went to Linux and then we could mix and match as we saw fit, no licensing problems. And I run Ubuntu Linux. And the reason that I use Ubuntu is because I found historically, anytime I run into a problem, I can find out what's happening somewhere. Somebody has run into the same problem and they've documented it. So that's the reason I go with Ubuntu. Recently, I was lucky enough to get a RTX 3000 series card, put it in and nothing. There was driver issues. There were many small issues on it, but I was able to work through it and get through it. That's why Linux, no matter what distribution you're running, it's still basically the same. You know, there might be flat packs versus snaps, but they're pretty much similar, you know, so find a distribution you like and you go with it. I'm quite happy with it.
What
That's
desktop are you using?
Ubuntu.
Okay, so it's the standard Ubuntu desktop.
Standard
then.
Ubuntu, nothing,
Yep.
no special flavors or anything. And I found that generally most distributions are just appearance wise. They run very similar, but it's just the way it looks, almost like a different skin on the different flavors of Ubuntu. So I just stuck it with the common one.
Yeah, well, that's probably GNOME, and there's at least 18 different kind of desktops available to most of the distros.
And
So
why? Wouldn't it make it a lot more sense if it was standardized on a smaller version of desktop so that it would run similar, so that everybody wouldn't have this great variety of things, especially somebody new coming from Windows?
well, it gets into like your cars, okay? You have Cadillac, Lexus, BMW on one end of the scale, and you got Chevy and Smart Car down at the other end. And everybody's desktop is a little different. KDE and GNOME are heavyweights. Cinnamon and a few others are middleweight. And then XFCE and LMDE, and I think it's LMQT are lightweight desktops, and they're good for old machines that don't have a lot of resources, and maybe no more than 4 gigs of memory. So the lightweight desktop works well there, whereas the medium and the heavyweight desktops will not.
I like your analogy of the cars, and I see where you're coming from. Depending on what hardware you have, the desktop can make a difference.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, right now I have, and I haven't played with it in I think a month or more. I haven't had the time. I've got one machine. It's very old, at least more than 10 years old. It's got dual SSDs. There's 2 different installs of 10 and 8 distros of Linux. That's just the one machine. And then I've got a laptop. I swap in and out drives, both SSDs and spinning hard drives that I had no other use for. I just use them on some of the Linux distros. They run pretty good. That's an antique. I've got a lot of old machines. I thrive on the challenge of making them work with almost anything. And I know how to upgrade them. But now if you ask me for some applications, some help, I may not be the guy to go to. Normally, I'm the hardware guy, I'm the operating system and utilities to keep the system running as smooth as possible because I'm a tech.
Good. Okay. Clint Tinsley, tell us what you've been doing with Linux of late. If you're there. There you go. I see you unmuted.
Hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I'm having some problems with Zoom at the moment, but at least it's working. I'm a Linux certification trainer for Red Hat. I teach Red Hat to people wanting to be certified as Red Hat system engineers and certified engineers and such. And I've been doing that for about 9 years. I use Zorn for my actual desktop on my computer, and I've been very happy with that. It's been very good. I bought the latest version, Zorn 16. So it's worked quite well for me. I have used Mint in the past, but right now I've got a machine stuck on Linux Mint 19 that won't upgrade. And I have a lot of stuff on it I don't want to lose or back up or reinstall, so I just leave it alone.
Which just goes to show that you don't always have to have the latest and greatest version of the particular package that you're running.
No, that's true. But I do like Zorn. I've kind of settled that on for my main laptop. I've tried others and they seem to come up deficient. I will comment on Flatpak and Snapd. Both of them I dislike because they consume so much space on the system. They add stuff, they're bloated. It's great to have the application on one package, but just as that update you started to do at the beginning of the meeting, it wanted to take up 2.7 gigabytes of space and download 850 megabytes just to make things work. That's a lot of overhead.
Well, I will comment as we go on. I've got a solution, but I was unsuccessful on the club computer. So as Tim says, there's a challenge and I will make it work on the, but anyway, I'll be able to do the demo tonight. The other comment I'll say, Clint, is back in 2001, I believe, or 2002. I was working for civil service, and we had a contractor that was building computers for military simulations, running the Janus and JCAT simulations, and they standardized on Red Hat. And that was my first introduction to Linux, and it was almost all command line. I don't recall any GUI at all with it. And I said, well, you know, as long as I'm here sort of supervising what's going on, I want to kind of know what it's doing. And they set a machine up for me over in the corner of their hardware spaces where they were building the computers and packing them and shipping them off to the different customers. And so every time I'd go down there, I'd get a chance to play with it, plus see what they were doing and play with the simulation. So that was my introduction to Linux many years ago. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Clint.
No, I used to tell people when I was a Novell guy, I had Red Novell. Then I went to work for Red Hat. I now bleed red Hat. But I've been in their certification training side of things since 2012, starting with RHEL 6 and coming forward from there. I had a Linux group here in Boise, but we disbanded. There just wasn't enough people. And then the pandemic came along, so we've never restarted it.
Okay. So Donna, how goes your Linux exploring?
I'm here. Anyway, I have an interesting question for you. I just found out on my desktop by using SPECI that I have room for another slot of memory. But can you use SPECI from Avast? Or it's not Avast, is it? Or maybe it's part of CCleaner. Anyway, can you use that on Linux? Is there a Linux formation of that to try? Because I don't know what's in my laptop if I could put more RAM in. There
are similar Linux programs, some that are GUI and some that are from the command line, that will give you all of the hardware specifications that are on your computer. And I believe we demoed at least one of those in a past meeting, but maybe Tim, since he's our hardware guy, can you just mention for the record tonight, and we can certainly try it in a future meeting, what you use, say from the command line or from the terminal to get the list of the hardware and its specifications on your computer?
About 2 months ago, I could have answered the question, but I've been away from it so much that on that particular type of tool, I know it exists, but I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
Okay.
It's a kind of a case where it's a utility. So odds are, in the majority of cases, it probably is something that started out on a Linux system somewhere and got ported to Windows, maybe even the Mac, which I have a couple antiques. And I came across something recently that one of these years I'll get around to that may allow me to upgrade the OS on my Macs past what Apple says I can have.
Well, let's just for kicks here, I'm back on the Lenovo. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to go, and I'm just going to say system.
What are you looking for, Mike?
Just
Hardware.
the system, the hardware, system info. Here you go. Let's see what we get with system info right from the main menu.
As I recall, it was light on the hardware.
Yeah, it may well be. Yeah, I see it is light on the hardware. So
Yeah.
it's not really telling us the slots and so on, but
Right.
I know there is something available.
Yeah, I'll look on mine and see if I can spot something.
And let me just see what we got here also under system.
There's a terminal command that you can use.
All right, I'll come to you in just a second. Okay, so let's look at resource. Okay, so these are the resources. This is very similar to what's available in Windows to see what's going on. But let's see if it's
Right.
going to, okay, so that's just strictly a system monitor. And Sean, what terminal command would you like me to use?
Try ls, like CPU. ls CPU. No space. I didn't say space. CPU. There you go.
Okay, so let's bring this up. Okay, so it's telling me it's an x86 architecture. It is 64-bit, even though it's telling me it supports it. 4 CPUs, so it's really a dual core. So being dual core, it's 2 hardware cores, each one with 2 threads. Yeah, that's what it's telling me. There's 2 threads. Okay, let's see if we can get down into. Okay, it's not giving me memory, so it's basically, but there may be, that's because we said CPU. Yep, you're right. Okay. But I know there's others, and I will research it, and at a minimum, I will send it out to the SIG in the email. Yeah, stop sharing here.
And one more part of the question. As a novice, when I just found out on my desktop, it has 2 slots, but only one is filled with 8 meg of RAM. Am I
8
able
gig.
to buy another 8 and put it in, or should I take it to a tech? I don't know what's involved, and that might not be Linux particular. So
How old is the system?
it's older. It's older. It
Well,
won't take Windows 11. It will not take Windows 11.
a lot doesn't take Windows 11. But aside from that, it's a case where the BIOS in the computer may limit what you can put in. Now, if you've got a single module with 8 in it right now,
It has 2.
you probably are okay with a 1, 2, 4, and maybe you can go another 8 gig module, but 16 is going to probably be your limit.
Okay.
In my opinion, unless you want to play with it, and unless you want to be in a situation where you're willing to return what's sent to you if it doesn't actually work out, it would be good if you've got a Geek Squad or something similar nearby, because that way you can take it to them. They can actually look at it and see whether you have a dual channel motherboard or not that actually supports, 2 similar sticks of RAM when we use them together. And then just put another 8 in of a similar specification. Ideally, having done things like this in the past, computers tend to like memory made from the same manufacturer. So if you've got 1 8 in there now, and you want 16, and 8 gig sticks are not that expensive, I'd almost buy 2 as a pair from Crucial or something similar. Or as I
would
said,
agree with that.
yeah. So just think about it. But I think in your case, ideally, your best bet is to go to a hardware guy and let him open it up. And I know you had some problems with the previous guy. So
I would suggest you go out to crucial.com and enter in the make and model of the computer, and they'll probably come back and tell you what you can put in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that, Bud. If it's a Windows computer in particular, you can go to Crucial and get the information right there.
Yeah, and if you're looking for, you can look on YouTube to search for your computer type to see how to install the memory. It's not
All
hard.
right.
It's usually not a big problem to install it if you can get to it.
Okay. And the last part of this I wanted to share is, Cleaner was very much used in Windows, and my dual boot is this desktop. So I heard someone say, oh, yes, it's very safe to use the remove duplicate files. Well, I went ahead with CCleaner and did it, and then Windows didn't work. So then I looked at, okay, I'm going to have to take this whole computer and make it Linux. But I think I've got back the missing stuff that I missed anyway.
Well, you
It's
did
this-
make a backup before you did that, didn't you?
Yes, but Michael, I don't have the rescue disk. We
Why,
didn't
why not?
because Mike didn't show me how to do it because it's a dual boot. That's why. Anyway, I think I have it back, and I made another backup. But this time Windows 7 backup worked. So I just used that on the Windows part.
Okay.
Well, see, the other thing there, Donna, is this is why in the Chicago group, I don't want to get into dual/multi booting, even though I have lots of experience in it. It is a headache, and trying to get a novice out of trouble when these things occur definitely is a headache. Because there are tools that you have to have available in order to deal with dual booting. And Windows, every time you do an upgrade, says, I'm king of the hill, and I'm knocking off everybody else by changing the boot up. And you have to have the right tool available to you that allows you to get into one or more of your Linux distros and reinstall Grub, and then do an update of the Grub, and it will put back the Grub menu so that you can more easily use your system like before the accident.
Well, I will make one comment, and that is, yes, if you're going to use Macro and Reflect, you always have to have a rescue disk even before you make your backup. So if
Yep.
that process is incomplete with you, Donna, we'll do another phone call,
And,
when we both have the time. Make sure you
for-
have that.
For Donna and anybody else, I use Macro and Reflect a lot, even with my systems that have Linux on them.
Yeah.
It only requires 400 megabytes, which means that I have an ancient 512 megabyte flash drive, and I still have room left for something else if I want to put it on there.
John Spizzari, I believe, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but you joined us late. But why don't you turn your camera and or microphone on and introduce yourself and give us a little of your background with Linux.
Well, I'm from the Chicago area, and I've been well, let's see, I've been playing with Linux since Red Hat 6 back in the 90s, late 90s.
What are you using now?
Right now I'm using, well, on a couple machines I use Mint 20 and 19, and let's see, I got one Fedora machine, and I got another machine I sort of play around with. Plus I use Raspberry Pi.
Oh, okay.
And I do boot, but I always clone the drive because of Windows and other disasters. So I don't mess around. If things go bad, I just recover from a clone.
Okay, well, you're welcome to join us anytime you like. We started out tonight talking about a number of things, and as a late arrival, and I'll just recap for folks, we we were talking about installing ungoogled Chromium using Flatpak and FlatHub on the Central Florida Computer Society's Linux computer, which is also in this conference. And we ran into problems getting the notice that Flatpak was not the latest version. We used the terminal to try to upgrade it, and it went into a major upgrade, which finished about 10 minutes ago. I tried again while you folks were talking, and it failed again, saying it wasn't the latest version. So that's on my to-do list. So instead, I very quickly brought my Dell online, which is a small Dell notebook, nice compact notebook, which has had various different versions of Linux on it and currently has Mint. And I will pick up kind of where I left off by sharing its desktop. And it didn't even have Zoom. I had to install that. But earlier this week, this is what I tried installing on Google Chromium on, had the Flatpak error, and it resolved itself with a reinstall. And so I was able to do this. So what I'm going to do is bring up Google Chromium up and show you what it looks like. And as a matter of fact, let me stop. That's not playing. Okay, so let me just hit home. I mentioned that what I did is I used on Google Chromium to do just the opposite of what on Google Chromium is designed to do. That is isolate Google. So I don't use any Google app at all in my primary browser for this computer, which is Brave. And instead I will use ungoogled Chromium, and then I'll put YouTube on it. And when I'm done, I'll just clear it out. I'll log out of the account, I'll clear the cache, and I'm done. You'll notice other than YouTube, I have no bookmarks in it. It's a very plain looking browser, and it did not have a standard search engine, but it had a list of search engines that I could go find. And so I stuck DuckDuckGo on here. It has, let me just see if I can move this black thing out of the way. All right. It has the usual setups, usual settings. So it would like you, as the basic browser does, to connect your account. I'm not going to do that. Okay, so I haven't done that. And yes, I do normally clear cookies, cache, history, and et cetera when I come out. It does have safe browsing protection, basically secure navigation with HTTPS, and that's pretty much the privacy and security. Let's see what we got. The theme, I set up the home page to be DuckDuckGo. I let it show the bookmarks bar. It does have a list. Well, actually, I think I went ahead and deleted all the other search engines, so there wasn't even a chance of me putting the wrong one in from my standpoint. You saw that it opened up YouTube. I do normally say continue where you left off. Its appearance has its own classic theme. It will not have the home button enabled by default, so I turned that on and then said make it DuckDuckGo. It will show the bookmarks bar and keep bookmarks if you wish. Again, that's the only search engine. I haven't set it up as the default browser. Let's see if the search engines are still there. I don't know why it's in so many different places. And let's see if managed search engines are there. Yep. Okay, so I don't really need YouTube as a search engine either. So that's gone. And that's, let's see, advanced. Let's see if there's anything else in advanced where we have anything here. Running background processes, I turn that off. Let it do hardware acceleration. So essentially what you're getting is a plain vanilla Chromium browser. And my primary purpose of showing it tonight was not so much to say I want to use this as a default browser, that everybody should use a default browser. But if you would like to have something that has no affinity with anything else that's out on the internet, isn't going to collect data, isn't going to report data, and it's just a window on the internet, this could be what you might like to use. Maybe as a primary browser, although I prefer Brave, but at least instead of Chrome, certainly, even better, in my opinion, than using Mozilla's Firefox, because Mozilla is starting to indicate that they're going to start doing some screening of your browsing habits. And especially in terms of what's known as a browser footprint. And this is going to have a very, very narrow browser footprint should you decide to use it on a computer that is more than one browser. It should not go cross browser on you unless you decide to run, say, Facebook on both of them, which I wouldn't recommend. So I just wanted to complete that section of what we tried to do. And next month I will report how I got Flatpak and FlatHub working on the club's computer, assuming I'm successful in doing that. Questions on that? Okay, so back to picking up where we left off. Okay, sharing files. Donna brought the subject up. You know, it's can I take a USB drive and put some files on it and then move it across between a Linux machine or between a Windows machine and a Linux machine? Sure, of course you can. And many of us have done that more than once. But if you've got a home network, local area network, and whether or not you've got computers connected by Ethernet cables or over your Wi-Fi, if you've got your phone on Wi-Fi and your main computer connected by Ethernet, you know, there are times when you want to share files and just be able to, if it's on one computer, it's on another computer. You heard Sean talking earlier that he's got a Synology file station. I bought a Synology file station. I guess I've had it 6-7 weeks now. Donna said that she has a network attached storage, NAS drive. And if you set it up properly, you just put your files there, that your common files that you want to share, and you access it from the computers. My goal has been to make Windows computers and Linux computers that I have here at my home talk to each other, share files on the local area network, be absolutely transparent as to how I get the files and how I share them. As I put on here, it should be easy, okay? Using what's known as the SMB protocol, I should have my ability for Windows, I don't have a Mac, and Linux computers, and including my file station, my Synology file station, to exchange files with each other. And I've been working hard on this now, easily 6 months before I had the Synology, just trying to get my Windows machines. I have 2 of them here in the house, my wife's and mine. They can talk to each other just fine. Bring up my Linux computer, it's not even on the network as far as the Windows computer is concerned. Linux computer looking for the Windows computer. It's not on the network, not there. Yeah, I know they're there. So this is part 1. Part 1 says, how can we work around this problem? And if somebody has an easy solution, we'll discuss that as we go. And I may have you give the presentation at our next meeting. But for tonight, I'd like to talk about, well, what can serve, if you don't have an NAS drive, what can serve to be a depository like Dropbox, but actually be accepted by your computer as a folder on your network. pCloud can do this, okay? And John Kennedy of APCUG is the one who pointed me in this direction, and I have begun to really like it. Now you can get, we'll talk about it here on another screen, you can get up to 10 gigabytes of space free. And then you can pay for additional plans if you like. So I'll show you how I share files between my Windows computer and my Linux computer, because I got them all online tonight and hopefully, and all in the conference, and we'll take a quick look at it. Microsoft's OneDrive is available. Google Drive, I stay away from this guy, but Google Drive can do it. There are others out there that can do it, but I personally happen to like pCloud anyway. I stumbled on Warpinator when I upgraded my Linux Mint 18.5, I think it was, on my Hewlett Packard computer to 20. There it was, staring me in the face. The Warpinator, I wonder what that is. And I found that Warpinator basically creates a local area network connection between two Linux Mint machines. And the hackers have been able to set it up so it can connect to Android. And I believe when I was searching the web, I found some other forks that people have reverse engineered Warpinator and allowed it to connect with other distros of Linux. And it's fairly extensive to make that happen. But if you're using Linux Mint and you have more than one machine running Mint, Warpinator is another good way to share it. Okay, so we'll move over. Okay, so let's talk about pCloud. And what I want to do is bring up my, let's see if this is the guy. It is. Let's find the right one for pCloud. Okay, so here's pcloud.com. Whoops, there it was. There it went. Okay, let's get it up at the top of the screen because I am got my little box there in the way for me. Okay, secure, simple cloud storage for your documents. And let's see, I think this is a video tour. Let's see, did I? No, I did not enable audio. So hang on, let me stop share. Let me share again. Okay, share sound.
What is pCloud? pCloud is the easiest way to keep all of your files synced across all your devices. That's right. When you keep your photos, videos, music, and documents in pCloud, you can access them from any PC, laptop, phone, or tablet. You won't even know the files are not on your device. You can open any file, big or small, as if it's stored locally. Pictures, video clips, presentations, spreadsheets, blueprints, you can keep any file you want in pCloud. Imagine you take a picture with your phone, and it's a pretty great picture. You want to share it with your friends, use it as a desktop wallpaper, and post it on Instagram, for example. Upload the photo to your mobile pCloud app, and you can immediately see it in your pCloud Drive app on your desktop, or in the web version through a browser. Then it takes just a few clicks to access or share the photo with anyone. pCloud, so easy.
Were we supposed to be seeing something?
Oh, you didn't see that?
No, it's on a Zoom screen.
All right, I'm sharing. It says I'm screen sharing. Are you
Yeah,
seeing?
I saw your mouse for a second there on the Zoom screen. The
And
Zoom.
And then
What?
did you hear the video?
Yeah.
We could hear it.
Well, I apologize. It's a short. Hang on a second. Let me just see if I can force it to go to YouTube. Hang on.
What
How
is pCloud?
Okay, are you seeing that?
No.
What we're seeing, Mike, is the Zoom webpage. It
All right.
recognizes magic.
Hang on. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to share. Screen 2. How about now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
Happens. All right. It's only a minute. We'll try again.
pCloud is the easiest way to keep all of your files synced across all your devices. That's right. When you keep your photos, videos, music, and documents in pCloud, you can access them from any PC, laptop, phone, or tablet. You won't even know the files are not on your device. You can open any file, big or small, as if it's stored locally. Pictures, video clips, presentations, spreadsheets, blueprints, you can keep any file you want in pCloud. Imagine you take a picture with your phone, and it's a pretty great picture. You want to share it with your friends, use it as a desktop wallpaper and post it on Instagram, for example. Upload the photo to your mobile pCloud app, and you can immediately see it in your pCloud Drive app on your desktop, or in the web version through a browser. Then it takes just a few clicks to access or share the photo with anyone. pCloud, so easy.
Technology. All right, so I'm going to minimize
Here at Cloudwoods,
this.
we spend a lot of time reviewing and comparing cloud storage services to make
Oops.
sure you make the very best purchasing decision possible. No
You
matter
accidentally activated a
if you're
YouTube.
flush with money, or a college.
Okay, I do have a link in the notes for a review of pCloud. This is a YouTube video. It advanced to it automatically. So they get into 7 minutes of a review on pCloud. So I'm just going to close this particular tab out so it does not do its thing again to me. Okay, so if you go to pcloud.com, you can sign up for an account. They tell you you can get 10 gigabytes of free storage, very much like Dropbox. I guess they just inherited Dropbox's model. If you do certain activities, they increase your storage by like 512 megabytes at a time, something like that. You get a friend to do it. You put it on a couple of different computers. You share the link. Other people sign up for storage. I think I'm up to about 8 gigabytes free at the moment, which is more than enough for what I need at the moment. And I thought I thought about setting up an annual plan, but I haven't done it yet because I got the Synology. So we just watched the promo video. And as I mentioned, there is a review and tutorial for more information that are in the show notes. So let me give you a quick demonstration. Minimize that. Minimize that. We're looking, hopefully, let's see, no, I shared the app. So let me stop share and share the desktop this time. Share screen. Screen 2. Okay. So here is my file manager. File Explorer. Typically, this is a Windows computer. And when you download pCloud Drive, it's very much like Dropbox. It will install itself as a drive. You can choose, hang on, you can choose what drive letter you would like. So I chose drive P. And then for all my computers, and I have a tendency to do this with a network attached storage as well, I create a common folder. That lets me drop things in this folder from any computer that may be online. But let's just take a look at my pictures, which are here that I've put online. And we'll go to my great-granddaughter Meadow. And we'll see a picture that was taken of her about 6 months ago. Always like to have cute kids. Okay, so now I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to go to my Hewlett-Packard, which is running Linux Mint. I'm going to share the desktop here. And you will notice down in the system tray, there's a little cloud and there's pCloud. Okay. And when you install it, every time you reboot, if you wish to, in the settings, you can say reconnect. And if you connect it to your file manager, here is pCloud. And if I go to my pictures in pCloud, there's my great-granddaughter. and there's her picture. So I can have, essentially, I have a Windows computer with files on it, and the files were synchronized with the cloud, which is pCloud, and this is a Linux computer with pCloud on it. So now I can start working, say, for example, on tonight's presentation in LibreOffice's Impress. And I started working on my desktop computer. I put the presentation, synchronized it to pCloud. I went later on in the day, I was sitting in my recliner with my Dell desktop, which also has pCloud on it. I just opened it up, went to the common folder, opened it up, made some changes, saved it, came back to my desktop this morning. The changes were there. I did some more shuffling around, did some more work, and I was able to go ahead and work with it. So could I have put this whole folder on a USB stick and just brought it over to my Linux computer? Sure, I could have, but I don't actually need to have these pictures residing. They're on my cloud, and my cloud now is connected to my network. And I can go leave the house and go log into pCloud on my cell phone, which if I had it join the conference, I could show you that I have a pCloud folder on my phone. And since I am attempting to ungoogle my life, I stopped synchronizing my camera's pictures on my Android phone with Google Photos, and I now synchronize them with pCloud. So if I go back to pCloud again, let's just go back. Oh, I'm stuck in this folder. All right, I want to go back up. Let's go this way. And let's go up. And let's go up. And let's go to pCloud back. Here we go, automatic upload. You can see that my phone has been synchronized to pCloud. So if I take a picture, any particular picture, like today during the APCUG conference, the presenter was putting out the QR codes for particular sites, and I wasn't fast enough to try to capture it and go to the site. So I just took a picture of it, and pCloud automatically just put it into the uploads, and it's there. So right now I could take my phone, click, take a picture of that and go to the website that was there. So it was a very quick way to share information on my phone. And what was I doing? I needed to have the MAC address of my Netgear modem, and I needed to have a copy of a prescription. All of these things I was able to, let's just go back again. Let's see here, we're going to do this and close that. I was able to just go to pCloud and put those things in my common folders. So here was when I was trying to put Quicken Install on Zorin. I had the download sitting on my Windows computer. Once I had Zorin set up, I put pCloud on it. It was sitting there. I just took the Quicken Install, which was sitting in pCloud, dropped it into my downloads folder, and then tried to install it. So I didn't have to put it on a USB and then bring it over and use it. And she is very photogenic, so she winds up getting, let's see here what I'm doing here. Let's stop share. Well, I guess I got to close that. Okay, now stop share. No, stop share. There we go. No, yes, no. Did I? Yes, I stopped share. Okay. Questions on pCloud in general or specific?
Seems like a nice app, very simple.
Okay, let's do this again. I need to have a producer that's doing all my sharing and screens and things for me.
How does it compare to Dropbox?
I used Dropbox for a while. I know that under Windows, it creates a very similar folder. And I did have it on a phone for a while. At the time that I was using it, didn't have automatic synchronizing of pictures, and I was using Google Photos at the time. So I investigated pCloud primarily because John Kennedy had recommended it, and I got to like it just for its ease of use. So let's see if I'm in this. Yes, I am. Okay, so we will go to the slideshow again from the current slide. Okay. Now, different in its actual implementation, but using the local area network to compare files with Linux to Linux. And I do have a video which may not come up. Let's see if it's going to come up or not. Let's see here. What do we got? Second, let me come out of this and see if staying on the screen and going to my browser is going to and I'm going to have to do it a different way. Just hang on with me, if you will. Yeah, there we go. And I want to go to, well, now it's going to see Warpinator. I'm pretty sure this is it. Let me see. One of these is the real quick one. This, yeah. Okay, this is a little bit longer. The gentleman talking has a bit of an accent. So if this does not come across, somebody holler at me. He does a very good presentation on what Warpinator can do Linux to Linux. And then I have a quick demo. So somebody stop me if his accent is so thick that it doesn't come across well.
Recently, Mint 20 was released, and it comes with a pre-install application known as Warpinator. And this application is very amazing because it allows you to transfer files between computers in a local network. So this is the application and this is the Warpinator. So in this guide, I'm going to show you how you can transfer files between two Linux machines. Both are running Mint 20 and how you can transfer files basically. So before proceeding, make sure the both.
Okay, are you seeing the presentation or is it just on the screen?
I see it.
You see it, yeah?
Okay.
Yep,
All
I'm
right,
seeing.
okay,
Looking
good.
Systems are on the same local network. To give you an example, so this is my machine 2, and if I run ifconfig here, so this is connected to the Ethernet and the IP address is 192 and 102, and my second machine is this one. This is again Mint Linux 20, and this is also connected to the same network, and this has IP address of 103. So let me show you how you can transfer files between the systems using the Warpinator application. So start the application in both the systems. So this will basically initialize the process and deduct any available system that has Warpinator installed in it. So it has detected that there is a system known as Linux S2O and its IP address is this one. This is 192.168.0.102 and this is takshak@takshak.sh. And let me show you the other system as well. So this is the another system, and this has also detected that there is a system available at 103 and its name is Takshak Rajput. So both the systems are detected in the Warpinator. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna double click on it, or you can simply click it and I can simply check the status here. The status is online, that the Warpinator is open in that system as well. I can also bookmark it for future use, and if I want to send the files, I can simply click on this button and browse the file from my system. So I will find the file and I will simply add it here. So I have this txt file here. I'm going to select this one, and you can also do this. So simply open up the folder and go to the file and drag and drop the file into the empty box. This will basically add the file. So this is saying like it is waiting for the approval. So let me go to the other machine. So this is the other machine and it has got this notification here. This is saying Linux S2 would like to send you one file and the file name. You can accept it and decline it. I'm going to accept it, and this will basically transfer the file. So transfer has been completed and this is saying the file has been received. I can simply click on this folder icon here and this will open up the folder. So this creates a folder in your home directory by the same name Wapinator. Inside that directory you will find your files. So let me now send from this computer to the other computer. So I'm going to send a file. So I'm going to click on send here. I'm going to browse and I'm going into the pictures directory and I'm going to select this mustang.png, and this is again saying waiting for the approval. I'm going into the other computer now. So this has again showing me this incoming file. I can accept it and the file will be transferred. So I can click on this button here and here is the file in this computer. Now I can simply change the wallpaper and here is the new wallpaper. So this way you can transfer files between the Linux systems, especially if you have Mint Linux installed in all of them, then you can use the Wapinator because it comes pre-installed. So that was the guide about how to use Wapinator to transfer files between the systems if they are in a local environment. So let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and I'll catch you in the next one. Till then, take care and keep enjoying Linux.
That was really cool.
Yeah,
Very
you had to listen closely. I actually had to watch it twice, but he does a better job than I can. But what I will show you is what I have set up right now. Let's see if I was going to try to install it on our club's computer, but the easiest way for me to do this is between my Dell and the HP because they're both on it. So let me just switch over and close this out. Let me see here what I'm looking at. Thought I stopped sharing. I did, but this thing still thinks I'm sharing. Just a moment. View. Okay, so I'm going. Oh, all right. Looks like my Dell computer has sort of locked up here. Or not the Dell, the HP, excuse me. All right, now it's catching up. And I may or may not be able to do this, but let's try it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let me just make sure I have Warpinator actually installed on my Dell. I'm pretty sure I do. Just a moment. Yes, I do. Okay, so I am going to share the screen of my Dell. I thought I was. Okay, share screen. Desktop 1. Okay, and down in, let's see if I see, yep, okay. Down in the system tray panel, as you can see, this is the little Warpinator star. I can click on it and it can tell you right now it sees my HP machine. And were I to go and share the screen of the HP, it would show you that it sees Mike Dell. It's telling me my current IP address in case I need it. And now I can go ahead and try to send a file. Let's take a quick look at some of the settings. So let's see what the preferences are. Okay, notifications, start with the window open, start automatically so you can have Warpinator start up when the operating system boots. And you can see that it does set up a, excuse me, a folder by default. It actually creates it called Warpinator. So you could change this if you like. If you were using it on a regular basis, I think I would use what I used I would just call it common. And that way, all of my Linux Mint computers would all go to the common folder, and then I could use it anywhere else. I could also turn off approval for accepting files, which to me is, if I'm here at home and I'm doing this, I probably turn that off and just say, hey, I just want to send it to my other computer. And the same, I probably would leave this on, requiring approval when files are overwritten. And then obviously a notification if things are coming in. Let's see what else it's going to say about the connection. Okay, the group code, if I remember correctly, defaulted to Warpinator. I decided to set the group code to my Windows workgroup. I'd be willing to bet that most of you with a Windows computer right now, if you're using workgroups at all, the workgroup's name is workgroup. And even if you're not using workgroups, if you dug into the settings on the Windows computer, you'd find that it is set to workgroup. And interestingly enough, if you dig into the file sharing code for SMB protocols, you'll find that the default workgroup is workgroup. So if you're using something different, you've got to make changes. Anyway, I have made sure that all my computers are using the workgroup called assist. So it also uses a default port for transfer. And you can update your firewall rules if you decide to change those ports, so that you try to keep people out if somebody were to break into your local area network. So all these are pretty much by default, except in the group code name. So you want those group code names to be the same. Okay, so if I go ahead and let's see, make a liar out of me. All right, so let's transfer. Well, why am I not set up to? Oh, that's who I want to transfer to. Okay, so I want to send a file. Okay, so let's browse. And I probably have a picture in here somewhere. Probably have a screenshot. Let's see if it's going to show me this preview. No, let's see. I've got a whole bunch of different screenshots. I'm not sure what these are. Let's just take a quick look and see. It's not even going to let me do it that way. All right, well, we'll just do it by name. So I'm going to transfer a screenshot. Okay, so it's waiting for approval. And now I guess what I need to do is the same thing that our friend did. I'll stop sharing my screen. And I'll go and see if I can share screens on this guy. Okay. My HP has had a memory overflow. And let's see, this is stop other. Yes. Okay. Stop other. It's running real slow. Just hang on. It looks like it's trying to do it. So just a moment. We'll see if it's going to let me do it or not.
Mike, could you go ahead and have sent that picture screenshot already before you get to the other computer? Or do you have to?
Yes.
Okay.
But it on my screen, I want you to see the pop-up I've got. Here we go. All right. So now if I share my screen, you're going to do it. Zoom is running about a minute behind because I'm still. Let me see if I'm going to share screen. Do it or not. May have to leave the meeting and come back. Okay, on my HP computer, I have a pop-up and it says new incoming files. Mike would like to send you one file, screenshot, and it's got the name. And here's poor Dell is short of memory and it's really bogging down. Hang on a minute. Let me just stop this. Okay, I'm gonna, let's see, where am I? Oh, okay. Let's see if now I can share screen. Production problems with multiple computers and, okay, let's see if I leave it and come back in. Not even gonna do that. Select the window you want to share. All right, well, let's see what happens. Oh, there we are. Okay. New incoming files. So this is the alert. Remember, one of the settings was, do you want to accept it without having to get this dialogue? So in answer to your question, if I had on both machines, if I had turned off the requirement to accept, it would have been on that computer, which means they could be unattended if it's in another room of the house and I don't have to get up out of my chair and go back and forth and back and forth. So if I'm sitting again in my recliner in the family room watching something and I say, oh, I'd like this to be on my HP so that when I do get back to my office and start working on it, it's there and it's in the Warpinator folder, then I would just have it go without requiring it. And if I now go to folders and I go to, I guess it's going to be other folders, right? I guess because I don't see Warpinator as being, oh, there it is. Yep,
Right
there it
there,
is. Yep. Okay, there's the screenshot. See, there's my error that I got when I was trying to get Flatpak on my Dell computer earlier, and I was able to upgrade it, doing the upgrades, reinstalls, all the necessary things to make it work. And I wanted to get a copy of that and save it. So now it's on my HP. Okay. And there's a more extensive tutorial on Warpinator as well. So let me stop share. This
So this is just a mint to mint.
just Mint to Mint or Mint to Android. There has been an update which allows it to go to Android. Okay, so I think it stopped. Yes, it looks like it stopped. Let me go back to my. Okay, and share screen. We've been answering questions about Warpinator, but I don't see this as my major solution, but it is a solution. And it does not solve the problem of Windows machines to Linux machines. Now I will show you, assuming that my screen is actually showing what we want. I gotta look in the other computer. Let's make sure that we can see my file manager.
Mike, I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
This is Dave. I'm just wondering, isn't your Synology NAS going to solve this issue for you?
Yes, that's exactly where I was going. So
Okay,
if you look at my network, my Synology, there's my Synology server name. And remember I said I like to use a common folder?
Yep.
So these are the common folders that I've set up. And for the Central Florida Computer Society, and for our Linux SIG, and for this SIG. And here's tonight's presentation. And here's those nice little icons that were on our round robin that I had found earlier and pasted in. So one solution is a network attached storage. You don't have to go out and spend big bucks to get a Synology. Any network attached storage drive will work. Be a couple $100 because, you know, if you bought an inexpensive one that already comes in a case and maybe it's a terabyte, something in that neighborhood, it can be set up fairly easy. Usually it comes with its own software to put it on the network. But once it's on the network, if you're on a Windows computer, you see it by going to the network. And if you are on a Linux computer, you go to the network and you see it. So this solves my problem essentially of having a common folder and then accessing it from my other machines. But I'd really, in network right now, you don't see HP on here, do you? I mean, it's on the network right now. It's running SMB protocol. It should be here. you should see my HP machine here. It isn't here. And you should see my Lenovo machine. It's on the network. It's not here. It's got SMB protocol also. And likewise, if I go to the Lenovo machine and I try to see the Windows machine, it's not here. It'll see my Synology because it's using the right protocols. So my goal by next month, knock on wood, up here somewhere, is to have this ironed out. And I will do my best to do so.
Mike, offhand, I'm remembering something from a long time back, and I may be wrong, but I think you have to run Samba.
Yes, and Samba is set up. Let's just go. Let's see where I want to go on this. Let's go to, since my HP is really slow tonight.
So I have a question regarding that. Why,
Sure.
since you have your NAS and you're seeing it, don't you see it from the HP and the Dell as well?
Yep.
So
I do.
why do you care if you see the other machines?
Why does somebody modify the engine on their car so that they can do, you know, the drag racing quarter mile in 8 seconds?
Because it's there?
It can go, certainly it can go down the track at 13 seconds, but why do you want it to go at 8? No, I mean, it's a bad analogy. It's because my tech days with computers go way back. I mean, I'm going to start in I'm revealing my age, 1972.
Oh, you're ahead of me.
I was a lieutenant in the Navy, and I was stationed at the Naval Plant Rep's office at Grumman Aerospace at Bethpage, Long Island. And they had a series of DEC 1170 mainframes with terminals on some desks. And I made sure I had a terminal on my desk. And then they came out with a modem that had rubber ear cups for your dial-up telephones.
Yep.
150 baud. And I could take that home and take a terminal home, and I could dial up and I could access applications. And I was really excited about the fact that I could transfer files back and forth, do things, as well as play games. And through the years, I have played with networks of one way, shape, form, or another. And in the 90s, as a computer consultant, after I got out of the Navy, I started selling hardware systems and bidding on jobs and doing local area networks. And you know, everybody wanted to share files. You could put WordPerfect on a network and have a quote server on a peer-to-peer network sitting at somebody's desk with the printer on it and a large hard drive, 40 megabytes, whatever they were.
Yeah.
And you could you know, store files on that person's desk that the other people in the business could then open up, edit, and save. So yes, I can have a file server, but I would very much like to have a peer-to-peer network functioning here. Will I change my operation? No. I'll probably use my Synology file server. That's what I invested in it for. But I really would like, especially for people that say, hey, I don't want to have to go out and buy more hardware. I got a Windows computer, I got a Linux computer. I just want to share files between the two of them.
Oh, gotcha.
And not have to go, you know, put them on a CD or a DVD. My frustration grew after John Kennedy, here, I'm mentioning your name, John, you should be here tonight, demonstrated his virtual machines, and I could not put a USB drive in a virtual machine on the network on my HP and read it. It would not read it. And he's come out with the solutions. But I said, well, all right, then all I really need to do is use the network connection, because you can set up the network connection in your virtual machine and just let the network connect, between the virtual machine that's on the Linux computer and the real Windows machine that's just sitting there on the network. And I even couldn't get that to work. And that was frustrating. So there's something I'm missing. Yes, Samba is a key. The configuration file for Samba, there are all kinds of settings in it. There are different Samba protocols, Samba 1, 2, and 3. And Sean and I played with that on the Synology, realizing that if we disabled SMB 1, which is kind of the lowest common denominator, but not as secure as the others, I could not access it without changing the code in the Samba configuration file on the Linux computers. And so,
Mike, I'm gonna bail. Dinner's ready.
okay, bud, have a good dinner.
Okay.
And
I'll catch the rest of the meeting on the video.
okay,
Good
so as I said, this is part 1. We will get into it. We talked about pCloud. Okay, we talked about Warminator. We've been discussing, so it's been 2 hours, so I'm just going to rapidly go through this. This will be sent out along with the video. Learning Linux workshop a week from now, 10/20. I think it's a week from now. Yep, a week from now at noon, Learning Linux. So register before October 19th if you want to go. I have some interesting links that you can follow through on. Useful Linux applications. This particular presentation goes through about 50 different applications for different purposes. I think it's a pretty good one. You can take a look at it. Linux Survival Guide, very basic. Covers stuff we all have been through already on distros. But interestingly enough, it does address the drive nomenclature in a way that I think the light actually went on for me as to how Linux identifies drives and gives it names that some of us as Windows people don't recognize. So he does a very good job of this. I highly recommend it, and it's not that long. I do recommend a magazine. It's kind of a magazine podcast. It's called Full Circle. It's aimed at Ubuntu, but it applies pretty much to most Linux distributions. I do continue to recommend the Linux group on MeWe, which is where I learned of Full Circle magazine. It's a good group, and it's an alternative to Facebook, and you get away from tracking. And I'll probably demonstrate this next month. There's a whole social media genre under a service called Discord, and they have a Linux group that is an offshoot of the MeWe group that they just set up that I just joined. It's worth taking a look at. So I was going to spend some time on these, but I'll just at least bring them up so that you can see it. Continuing, we'll talk about sharing files next time. Some other things that we can talk about that I'll get back with you on in my emails to you. And we talked about reviewing other Linux distros, so I may pick one between now and then. I'll send it out and let you all know about it. We still haven't really focused in on terminal things, and I still solicit your recommendations by emails to our Google group. By the way, some of you got the link for tonight, not necessarily joining our Google group. So send me an email at mikeu18@protonmail.com. Say it again, mikeu18@protonmail.com. And I will add you to the Google group so that you're getting our missives. So 2 hours and 8 minutes. Final comments, anyone?
I remember in the beginning of the meeting, there was at least one person with Raspberry Pis.
I did hear him. Yep.
You do know that you can take a Raspberry Pi and make a low-end NAS out of it. And basically, your Synology has like a Raspberry Pi in it, talking to all the actual drives. But it is a cheap way of doing it if you already have a Raspberry Pi and you got either solid state drives or spinning hard drives laying around from other older computers.
Yeah, the only downside I see with that, and I've been looking at that quite a bit, Tim, yeah, is putting it in a nice case of some sort.
I agree. I agree on that one. But at the moment, for experimentation, I don't care about a case.
True. True.
Well, I did
built
start
one
out.
I built one years and years ago with one of the early Raspberry Pis. It didn't have enough horsepower to drive through the network. It was not usable. But the Pi 4 certainly has enough horsepower. It's got a gigabit Ethernet port and 2, 4, or 8 gigs of RAM. That's lots of horsepower there.
Let me turn my background off here and I will show you something that goes back a few years. That coming across. This is a Buffalo workstation.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's 500 or Link Station. Yeah, Link Station. Okay, and I think it's 500 gigabytes. And it theoretically was plug and play. It's got on the back, it has Ethernet ports and USB ports and power. And it came with installation software that you loaded in Windows. Press your power button, boom, 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 and it was online, running and available to your network. I haven't used it in a long time, but it's got some old family pictures on it. So it just sort of sits down here on the floor gathering dust. But these days, you know, you can find them, you know, size of one of these. And the circuitry is there to make it a network attached storage, maybe a little bit bigger, but not much bigger than that. So you don't have to spend $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. You know, you don't have to. It is a way to solve the sharing problem. And many of them come with the necessary software so that you can actually open up ports and access them from offsite. Not that I want to do that, but some people do.
Now you're getting into security issues.
Yep. And the Synology goes round and round to handle that. And I'm going to work with Sean on a software program called Zero Tier, which is supposed to tighten things up and let you access it that way. Okay, guys. Any other last comments?
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you all for joining us. I'll stop recording and I'll get this out to everybody.
Good night.